Good day everyone! Mom Anna here, and I'm happy we're now in the last but not the least lesson in the introduction to the philosophy of the human person. But before anything else, let's have a recap. What was the last lesson that we tackled? If your answer is about the human person in the society, then you have a good memory. That's correct. I hope you could still recall the meaning of society and how society transforms individuals. Now, we will proceed to Unit 8. But first, let me show you these things. Okay, this is a good watch. Oh my gosh! It gets broken. Wow, this is a nice one. And it's actually working. See? Wow. Actually, we bought it buy one, take one. And this is the other one, but I don't know what happened to the other one. It got broken. Look. So sad, right? It was functioning like this a few days ago, but look at what happened. So my son just played with it and it gets like this. And so that made me wonder. It seems that nothing lasts forever. Do you believe in that too? Objects wear out, as I've shown you a while ago. And foods and drinks expire. Trends or fashion get outdated. So, what do you think does it imply? Does it have a similarity to us as human beings? Well, you are right when you say that just like the objects shown, we don't have a permanent life to live on earth. That we are temporal beings, just like the objects shown, right? So they're just temporary. So just like them, we're also temporal beings. And we are oriented towards death. And that is the topic in Unit 8. Human person as oriented towards death. The most essential learning competencies are 1. To enumerate the objectives that he or she really wants to achieve and to define the projects he or she really wants to do in his or her life. 2. To reflect on the meaning of his or her own life. Now, let's begin. The German philosopher Heidegger calls man a being for death. Death is a certainty. Only the when is a big question mark. as Corazon Cruz said. Have you ever thought of that or what it means to die? You may feel uncomfortable talking about death because you're still young and it is difficult for you to imagine when or how you will die. However, we can't deny the fact that death exists in this world. You may have seen your pets die or your plants die and even experienced, maybe you have experienced a relative or an acquaintance or a loved one died, or heard about news on TV or social media about death. So death is not new to you because to be human is to die. The very thought of death could give you anxiety or grief, but it is an essential topic to talk about, since only in accepting the reality of death can we begin to explore and understand the meaning of our own existence. I want to ask you about your impressions on death. Could you give me one word that would describe your meaning of death? Do you have a positive or negative view about death? Why do you think people have a negative view about death? Perhaps you would say, Ma'am, kasi madami pa po akong gustong gawin sa buhay kaya takot po akong mamatay at takot po ako na pag-usapan ang patungkol sa kamatayan. People have reasons why they have negative view about death. But if we know that death is inevitable, then how does the reality of death define our lives? Death is commonly understood as the end of bodily functions, which signals the end of life. Some philosophers believed that it is the separation of the body and the spirit. Could you still remember in Unit 3, the human person as unembodied spirit? So we tackled about the components that made up a human person, right? That we have a body and a spirit. Philosophers believed that our body, being material, grows, dies, and decays, while our spirit is immaterial. So it will continue to exist even after the body dies. As observed, everything that came into being in this world will eventually come to an end. So this makes the life of a person limited. Since we cannot do everything in this lifetime, we must be able to reflect on the things that we need to do and identify the goals that we need to achieve. So we can say that we have lived a meaningful existence. That is why my question is, what objectives do you feel you need to achieve before you can say that you have lived a meaningful life? Understanding the person as being oriented towards death bring us back to a very important topic, which is freedom. It has been discussed previously that the essence of freedom is self-determination, right? So what again is meant by self-determination? Self-determination means that self-determination is the capacity to choose over options and act for oneself. Though there's one thing that we cannot choose, right? And that is the time of our death. We cannot determine or choose the time when we're gonna die. But still, a person can exercise freedom in choosing how to face the reality of death in their lives. For example, we cannot stop ourselves from getting older, but we can choose to embrace aging gracefully. Again, accepting the reality that we have limited time in this world allows us to determine what kind of life we want to live. To paint a picture of how our life progresses and how we envision it to end. But what is the end of this life? The term end can be understood in two ways. Some philosophers view end as a terminus, which means the full stop or end of a line. For them, life ends and nothing follows. Others, however, consider end as telos, which means goal, purpose, or fulfillment. Although we as human beings are oriented towards death, death is not the goal of our lives. The human person is not born so that he or she could die. Man is put on this earth to live. With this in mind, we can look at experiences in two ways, which make us reflect the meaning of life. Happiness and suffering. Let's start with happiness. What makes you happy? Is it your gadget? The food that you eat? The coffee? Milk tea? Traveling? Or so on? Ancient Greek philosophy considers happiness as an achievement, and it must be gained by living a productive and moral life. Religious philosophers consider happiness as a union with God. Others view happiness as whole life satisfaction based on our evaluation of our overall life experiences. Moreover, happiness also has a social element, as we should not only be concerned of our own happiness, but also the well-being or the happiness of others. Because your happiness could also influence or affect the happiness or the state of mood of other people. As we understand ourselves better, we come to realize that happiness is a state of being. What makes a person happy is that which fits his nature. And philosophers believe that we are made truly happy by the things that are true and good. For Socrates, a great teacher in Athens around 469 BC, believed that for a person to be happy, he has to live a virtuous life. Virtue is not something to be taught or acquired through education, but rather it is merely an awakening of the seeds of good deeds. Being good or good is a source of happiness, and it has three kinds. The first one is a noble good. A noble good is one which is pursued for its own sake. It is good in itself. Nurturing love toward other people and gaining friends are some of the examples of noble good. Second one is useful good. Useful good is considered good so long as it serves a means to an end. Its goodness is found only from what it can provide. For example, money is a useful good because it could buy you the things that you want, and that makes you happy. Finally, the third one is a pleasurable good. A pleasurable good is good so long as it provides some form of pleasure, though it doesn't have to be physical. A specific good cannot be strictly categorized under just one good. So a noble good may be a useful good and also a pleasurable good, or it could be a combination of goods. For example, friendship. Friendship can be a noble good because it is good to befriend with other people. For example, friendship may be a noble good because it's nice to be friends with other people. But it can also be a useful good if you only befriended the person because you treat him or her as an object or the means for you to be able to achieve your goals in life. So pursuing it with wrong intentions will make it become a useful good. Money is a useful good, but it can also be a pleasurable good, right? So when you use money to buy the things that you want, it gives you pleasures because it makes you feel good. It makes you feel happy. And you become satisfied by what you bought. So it becomes pleasurable. But what did you notice from the things that makes you happy? You're happy when you buy your favorite food, right? Or when you drink your favorite milk tea or coffee. But what happens after that? Does the feeling of happiness stay? As experienced, happiness from a material thing diminishes as soon as you own it. While happiness gained from friendship or from the love of your loved one or love from your family grows as it progresses. This brings us to a very important lesson in life. Real happiness can be found in more permanent and meaningful things. How about you? What kind of good have you been pursuing lately? How do these contribute to your well-being and happiness? Definitely, all your answers have a positive influence in your life as of this moment. After all, we all want to be happy, right? But happiness is not the only thing that we experience in this world. We also suffer. Why do people suffer? And why do we have to experience suffering? When was the last time you experienced suffering? What was the reason behind it? And how did you overcome it? People suffer, and that is a fact. Suffering takes place when we patiently endure unpleasantness, discomfort, and pain. It can come in the form of physical suffering. When we experience physical sensations such as discomfort, hunger, distress, and pain is what makes up physical suffering. These are often caused by injury, disease, or the lack of basic needs. And the second one is mental suffering. Mental suffering involves emotional and mental states such as depression, anxiety, fear, loneliness, and grief. These may be caused by unexpected situations in life such as changes in lifestyle, loss of employment, stressful situations, and grief over the loss of a loved one. The tension between what a person is and what he wants to may also be an experience of suffering. And that is also considered as a mental suffering. Generally speaking, we see suffering as undesirable condition. That is why we seek pleasure and avoid pain. So those who adopt or believe in this type of perspective often focus on the various means to end suffering or eliminate the pain. If there are people who believe that suffering should be avoided, there are also other people who believe that suffering is necessary because it helps us in our existence. Without it, our positive experiences lose meaning and significance. Philosophy helps us understand how suffering defines the state or condition of the person before, during, and after the experience. It is important to remember that difficulties are not without a reason. More often, our hardships bring about realizations and opportunities for us. But how do happiness, suffering, and death give meaning to your life? The pursuit of happiness requires that we go through the effort to achieve it. Our efforts in pursuing happiness are often marked by sufferings such as rejections, discouragements, difficulties, and the like. So suffering is also an important element in being happy. For example, an athlete who wishes to win should experience hardship in training. A lot of time should be spent in training, and maybe several setbacks will happen before he or she gains a victory. You cannot be successful overnight. It takes effort to be happy. And when you overcome difficulties or setbacks in life, that will bring you more happiness. If we are willing to suffer through adversities, it makes the pursuit of happiness even more worthwhile. Because of our freedom, how we wish to live our lives is entirely up to us. So, I want you to reflect on the meaning of your life right now. How would you describe the meaning of life? Isn't it that our life is like a tabula rasa? A blank slate at first, but we are the ones who create and write stories on it. And we can be a protagonist or antagonist in our story. So, how would you want to write your story? How do you want to be remembered? If you were to leave a legacy behind, what would it be? Remember, we only have one life to live. That is our famous expression, right? YOLO. You only live once. But once is enough if you live it right. Life is short and death is sure. As Thomas Cathcart and Daniel Klein said, our time-limited selves can't handle the unlimited options that present themselves to us in both our everyday lives and in our fantasies. There is much to do, and yet there is so little time. If you had an infinite amount of time, you could try an infinite number of options. Since we got a one-time limited life, we should not waste it. It was actually this dilemma that led current modern-day philosophers at Nike Corporation the trademark leap of faith. Just do it. As they say, life is not a problem to be solved, but a gift to be enjoyed. Since it is a gift, it is time to turn this life into a gift for others as well. Enjoy life to the fullest and explore the essence of it. Remember, death is not the goal of our lives. We are temporal beings, so we need to find the meaning of our existence. As young as you are, I hope that you already set your principles in life, how you want your life to live. Once again, I am Ma'am Anna, and this wraps up our discussion in the introduction to the philosophy of the human person. I'm happy that we have finished discussing the whole topics in philosophy, and thank you for joining me in the discussion. I appreciate it very much. I do hope that you all pass philosophy with flying colors. Don't fear death. Enjoy life. Thank you for watching. Till next time, paalam!